Solomon every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, noon Eastern. You think about it, we rant about it. Listen to us live on Facebook.
You know, David, I never thought there'd be a day where we would be talking about the federal government. Sorry, my camera came out there. And a totalitarian measure that forces people to do things that they don't want to do. And I'm referring to that funny little stick called the COVID vaccine. David, I know you and I have been talking about this offline for weeks and weeks and weeks. And we've mentioned it in our broadcast when we talked about the initial tranche of the vaccination. And, look, I'm vaccinated. I've got Pfizer that was distributed in my arm, 21 days apart as directed. You've been given your vaccination. I don't know what brand you got. And many people are even getting boosters, mixing boosters. I mean, the CDC has made a total fruit salad out of this issue. But I think the Biden administration has taken this to a whole new level.
Not just the Biden administration, my friend. That's the problem. But I'll tell you, here's the funny thing. And folks, I think that I don't know how many of you have seen this on both sides of the border, by the way, where businesses have been wondering, do I have the right to force a vaccination? Do governments, same question, do they have the right to do that? So let's just do a couple of examples of what has been going on and the response and the reaction for what's been happening. Let's start, first of all, with Allison Williams. Allison Williams was an ESPN reporter who has left ESPN because, and they say she left the network, but basically she was forced out the door because she refuses her to get the vaccination. Now, her reason was she'd like to get pregnant. She wanted a medical exemption. And essentially, ESPN and Disney said no. The science says it's fine. And there are reports that say, yes, if you're pregnant and you want to take the vaccine, it's fine. She said she doesn't want to take the chance. And as a result, she was forced out the door.
Yep.
Southwest Airlines. Okay. Similarly, was told, hey, you have to be vaccinated. The judge just rejected now the employee. The federal judge said that Southwest Airlines is within its right to require employees to get vaccinated against COVID-19. And so as a result, Stuart, we now have employers and the legal system saying, of course we can force it.
Well, take it one step further. Let's talk about, in this case, Miami-Dade County schools. Mm-hmm. Now, in Florida, they can't force it. They're not allowed. But what they are doing is if you show me your vaccination card, which you can also buy one, I believe, on eBay. No strike against eBay, but I believe they were for sale on eBay. You literally get $50 or $100, depending on the school. To incentivize.
I don't mind a financial incentive, and I don't mind a lot of other things. But I'll tell you what I do mind, Stuart. And this is what the problem is. We're now caught between a rock and a hard place. I'm again, you said it, we're both vaccinated, and I got my mixed cocktail of AstraZeneca and Pfizer.
I always thought you were a mutt.
We always believe in doing the right thing, you know, but at the same time, there are people who say on the medical front, nurses, doctors, who do not want to get vaccinated. They say it's their body. They're right. Police officers in New York, Chicago, and other cities are the same thing. They're being told you have to get vaccinated. And they're like, why? It's my body. It's my choice. And what's going to end up happening is we're going to have ourselves a really big problem. We're going to divide society to no end, where you're going to have people on this side, the vaccinated people, and on this side, the non-vaccinated people. And we're going to have another labor shortage because you're going to have good people leaving jobs and unable to fill. So you're going to have schools that are going to close down. You're going to have a medical system that's going to fall apart. You're going to have safety and security that's going to fall apart. You're going to have airlines that are going to continue to cancel flights, because look what happened to Southwest, canceling God knows how many flights because they don't have vaccinated. And now the federal government in both sides of the border, both Canada and the United States, want the same thing. So I have no idea anymore what to do, Stuart.
Well, I mean, it's not even not know what to do. As I just put up a quick article, federal government, federal employees, contract employees to the federal government, companies receiving federal grants. I mean, no one knows what to do. And you want to know something most of all? The CDC doesn't know what to do. Flip-flop Fauci caused also some of this problem, which spewed over into Canada. But let's talk about the Canadian issue. Even in Canada, they are confused. In Toronto, remember I went up to Toronto? My uncle was dying. First of all, I have the vaccination. Then I had to provide a negative PCR non-rapid test.
Okay,
But hang on a second. But the hospitals there don't even know how to treat people that are vaccinated. Do you still need to wear a mask? Do you not need to wear a mask?
Sure, but that's everywhere.
But what is the point? What is the point of forcing people to get vaccinated? What is the end game?
The theory behind this, Stuart. No, it's not that. The theory behind the vaccinations, of course, is like we were talking about herd immunity. And the thing is that we are not going to get the herd immunity. And they recognized, and listen, I don't know what you got. We have one of the highest vaccination rates in the world. Okay, in the world. And yet we have a whole percentage of the population who will never get it. COVID isn't going away.
Right, but it's even maddening where I came in wearing an N95 mask and then someone gives me a 3-ply, which is garbage, and says you got to wear a 3-ply. It's not relevant to this topic, but it's just to bring to the confusion that you want to force vaccinations, right? Which is wrong. That's a subject of this conversation, right? But on top of forcing people to be vaccinated, they're also trying to say wear masks, don't wear masks, that go along with this. So if the Canadian government and the American government both don't know what the hell to do, the employees that work for governments don't know what to do, a contractor isn't an employee, is not an employee. I'm in the great state of Florida. If your employer has said you need to get vaccinated, come to the state of Florida. And all those shipping containers, come to the great state of Florida.
By the way, DeSantis has said anybody who gets fired, come on down to Florida. It's a point where I understand the theory. I get the theory. It would be wonderful if everybody was protected. But what's sad to see is that, it does help. It's not going away. There's another variant that they're now talking about here, the subvariant of Delta, that's even more contagious than the Delta variant. And so they have no idea. We have no idea. We've talked about this in a previous rant. We are the world's biggest guinea pigs. We are lab rats. They don't know. They're testing, and these employers, and I understand that. We're a company looking for employees, and to sit there and to tell some people you have no choice to be double vaxxed. A, I'm not going to find all the employees I want, and B, while some will feel safe, others are going to go, who are you to tell me what to do with my body? Right. This is where I've got the conflict.
Listen, it's like forced abortion, no forced abortion, allowed to abort, not allowed to abort. What you do to your body, it's a slippery slope.
No, but this is a little different.
Because you want to know something,
this is different.
Abortion is not the same thing. If you want to go to a public school and if you want to go to a private school, you are mandatory, have to get vaccination, where there are only very few religious exemptions. What the issue with COVID-19 vaccination is, they are not providing a religious exemption. They're saying there is no such thing as a religious exemption. Then there should be no more religious exemption for smallpox. How about scarlet fever? Any of them?
Look, I'm just saying to you right now,
it's confusing right now, the smartest guy.
But I'm saying that right now, the notion of forced vaccinations, we're going to create a 2-tiered system.
Yep.
You're going to, what's next? I mean, right now, as you probably are aware, we all have to show a vaccine passport. Okay, we have no choice here. If you want to go to a restaurant,
what does it look like?
I'm not showing it to you because I don't want anybody to copy it. But you have to go in and show, if you don't have it on a phone, you have to show it on a piece of paper that you have been double vaxxed. For me to go to a restaurant, a gym, a hockey rink, to watch a hockey game at the Bell Center, anything that I want to do in that social environment, I have to show that I am fully vaccinated.
David, I got a question for you. You know when you go to a store and you pull out $100 bill and they take out a marker and they go and mark it to see if it's real? I don't know if they still do that in Canada because you've got different currency today. But like, you know, in the States, you have a $100 bill, they take a marker. How do they know that that vaccination card is real or not real? Whose job is it to enforce?
Hold on. Okay. We have a QR code that's tied into the database here in Quebec. So there is a certain validation behind it.
Well, what if the QR code is soiled? It doesn't come up. Then you're not vaccinated.
Then there are details that are listed with the QR code as part of the application. But we're going into the wrong minutia here. What I'm trying to say is that now society is forced to walk around. But I want to tell you how many people have said to me, I can't go to the bar because I'm not double vaxxed. I am being discriminated against because I am not vaccinated.
Well, hang on a second. But hang on. You're not discriminated unless you're a protected class. Discrimination is a legal term, David. And unless it's a protected class, there's no such thing as discrimination. So right now, there is no discrimination about COVID because being or not being is not a protected class. Being gay, being black, being Jewish, that's discrimination.
Stuart, bottom line is, you can't get a job as a police officer in the New York City or in Chicago and other cities because you're not double vaxxed. That's a form of discrimination. That's no different in terms of a discrimination.
Get a better job. Leave where you are.
No,
come to the great state of Florida.
No. That's a stupid answer because you know what? We have had teachers here, for example, in Quebec, who were told you wear a hijab, you can't get a job as a teacher. That is discrimination.
Yes.
Now this is being disguised as a safety hazard, as a safety measure, and therefore we're discriminating against people. The problem I have is that I get this whole forced business. Thank you, Stuart. Really don't need that on screen.
You need the definition. It's grounds of race, age, or sex. That's the definition.
No, Stuart. It's now I'm sorry to tell me that this is a new form of discrimination that you are going to see. Southwest employees going to court is to say, hey, don't force me. Like employers are saying, okay, you want to work here, you got to be vaccinated. Are we going to create the first unvaccinated airline? Are we going to have a police force or security force of people who are not vaccinated? You're basically
we're going to have walls around our city. We're going to have, like you said, 2 class. It sounds very much like a sci-fi movie that I saw in the 1980s, right?
But where are we going with this? And I get that the Biden administration and the Trudeau administration have both put out mandates saying federal workers must be fully vaccinated or you cannot work for the federal governments. And you know something? You're going to lose people. And who's going to suffer at the end, Stuart? Us. The society is going to suffer because already we have a massive labor shortage. And now you're going to compound it with another. Look, we don't have enough nurses here. And they're telling the nurses union as of November the 15th, if you are not fully vaccinated, you're out. So what are we going to do in the hospitals?
Doctors throughout the United States. And you know what
are we going to do? What are we going to do? I get the theory, but the practice is a problem.
Listen, you know what? People make decisions based off their pocketbook and principles. And the more people that talk about it and don't do anything, don't rely on their most powerful weapon, their pocketbook, right? And their choices. You choose to buy Unilever. You choose not to buy Unilever. You choose to buy Nike. You choose to buy Adidas. You make these choices. You can't force corporate America to do it. But we're not talking about corporate America always. That would be the literal answer of what Southwest is, corporate America. However, the federal government isn't. Violence will be the answer of this battle. Well, Jonathan believes that people will have guns and fists in the street over this vaccination issue.
Well, I don't know if we're going to get to that extent, but I wouldn't be surprised if suddenly we're going to have ourselves.
David, we're at a quarter hour. I want to say one thing. I got a joke. I got a joke for you. How does a newfie clean an elevator?
How? Folks, for those of you who don't know, Stuart will no longer be part of the Rant Network. We're going to lose him permanently. The censors are going to kill. No, just kidding. Ladies and gentlemen, listen, I don't know how you feel. I'd love to really get your opinion.
Yeah.
Like John, you're right. It's entirely possible we'll get to something violent. It's entirely possible that there's going to be political upheaval. There's an election. There's a midterm election happening in the United States next November. I will be curious to see what that election will look like when you're forcing people to do things. I'd be curious.
Well, you got Virginia. Virginia's coming up real quick.
Yep. I know that.
I'm dying to see. You know what? There was a commentator last night on the news, and I'm going to end with this, David, who said, "I don't think we're going to see California or New York be a Republican state for the next 20 years." And the former Speaker of the House, of the first Republican of California, right, of Speaker of the House, said, "Keep forcing people to do what they don't want to do, and you're going to see this country go red. Not blood red, Republican, conservative red."
And you know what? I'm going to tell you something. I think that it's going to go both ways. And I think that there are Republican states that are going to look. I really, really got to tell you something. These edicts that are coming down from certain governments, and I don't care which side of the aisle you're on, are dangerous. But it's not just governments. I want to see how many employers are going to find themselves in trouble and going to have to rescind their policies, because at one point, no one's going to come to work.
Yeah, and then I want to know what the action's going to be against those companies that force 20 people to get it. And then, God forbid, someone dies and they blame it. Oh, this is going to be a shit show. All right, David, I'm going to shut up.
Guys, we're done. We'll see you guys on Friday. We love you. Thank you so much for joining us here today on the Rant Network. We love you. Keep sending out those messages, and we look